Coming to you live from the Elliott Avenue Studios, this is The Barbershop. Brought to you by Trufant Auto Detail, the official auto detail provider of the Seattle Seahawks. And by the Trufant Family Foundation, an organization aimed at improving the community one kid at a time. With Marcus Trufant, here's T. Holla.
What's up, everybody? It's T. Holla back here in the Barbershop. Thank you guys for joining us. Today, we got a lot of things we want to talk about, but I got to let you know right off the bat, I'm flying solo today. I am down one Marcus Trufant. Unfortunately, some things happened to him, and I'll talk about that here in just a second. But like I said, we got lots of things that we need to chop up today in the Barbershop. Russell Wilson is back in the news. We talked about him a couple weeks ago, but he is back with some demands for the Seahawks. Also want to talk to you about farewell tours in sports. And, what do you feel about farewell tours in sports? We got one going on right now that's getting a lot of headlines. And I want to talk to you about some things that are really just bugging me. So make sure you stay tuned to tonight's show. Even though we are down, Marcus, I'm going to try to hold it down for you guys as well as I can. I'm going to try to follow my old school rule, and that's be brilliant, be brief, and then be gone. So that's what I'm going to do tonight. Thank you guys again for joining us. Let you know what's going on with True, man. First of all, I just got to give you guys, a little insight from an ex-athlete. And although I wasn't quite as accomplished as True was in his career, I understand the mentality of an athlete, someone who's been playing at a high level for most of their entire life, oftentimes very competitive. Mr. Trufant is no exception, and this past week, he spent some time on the basketball court. He likes to fancy himself as, some kind of great basketball player who can do everything, just like old school football players. We feel like we can do anything athletic, and he hurt his Achilles while he was playing. And not only did he hurt his Achilles while he's playing, he decided that afterwards, he was going to go out there on the hills, on the slopes, and partake in his newfound hobby of snowboarding. So when he did that, he found out that he wasn't quite cut like he used to be, and he apparently has torn his Achilles heel. So Marcus is gone. He's in the hospital. He's dealing with what he has to deal with, and I'm here to do my thing. So hopefully True can get better soon, and get back in here to the Barbershop where we're looking forward to having him here back on the air. Before we get started, though, I got to tell you guys a little bit about my week, and I had some interesting things take place, and there's a couple lessons in this story I want to give you guys. Being relocated here to Western Washington for the better part of the last 2-3 decades, I fall victim to the coffee culture. I've become addicted to coffee, and for a long time, though, I was not the Starbucks guy. I was I don't know if I was protesting because I thought Starbucks was really trendy, or if I thought it was as overpriced, or what the deal was, but I just never went to Starbucks. And a couple of weeks ago, I went in and I actually tried one of these things called an egg bite, and it's made out of eggs and cheese and has bacon on it. And I just took a bite of one, and it was really good. It really reminded me of quiche, and I know I'm probably going to get a hard time from all my boys when they hear this, that T. Holla likes quiche, but it is what it is. Quiche is good. I don't get to eat it all the time. You get it once a year, probably like Christmas, and, it's my thing. So this egg bite kind of tastes like quiche, and I thought to myself when I had that bite a couple of weeks ago that this would probably be really good, like quiche, if you put salt and pepper on it. So in my mind, the next time I come into Starbucks, I'm going to get this egg bite and put salt and pepper on it. Flash forward about a week, and I was going to my daughter's basketball game, and I was running a little late. So I stopped in the Starbucks, and I ordered the egg bites, and I pulled up a seat right next to the pickup window. And I don't know if I just wasn't paying attention, I was in a rush or whatever, but I noticed that people were coming in after me and were getting their orders and leaving. And I didn't get my egg bites. And I thought that maybe these things take a little longer to prepare, a little longer to cook. That's why I'm not getting it. But more and more people came, and more people left with their orders. And so I started to get a little angry. And I stood up, to cause a scene, because I thought maybe this was another incident where Starbucks was racially profiling me. They didn't want to give a black man his egg bites. So I stand up and I look over the edge of the counter, and there were my egg bites sitting right there the whole time, man. And so obviously I either didn't hear them call my name, or they said it too quiet, or they didn't say my name at all. But anyways, my egg bites were there, crisis averted. But I'm still in a rush. And I go over to the counter where all the condiments are to put my salt and pepper on my egg bites. And I just really start dousing my egg bites with pepper. And I noticed that Starbucks has really fancy pepper. It's really light, so I just started sprinkling extra pepper on it. Then as I reached to grab the salt, I noticed that it didn't say salt. It said vanilla. So long story short is I have sprinkled cinnamon and vanilla on my egg bites. So the purpose of my story is to tell you a couple of things. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to slow down sometimes in life, man, because we start making mistakes. We start doing stupid things. And when you get in a rush, you get angry, you get aggravated, and you end up pouring cinnamon on your egg bites. That's number one. Number two, as I kind of tried to shake the cinnamon off my egg bites, I got most of it off, but I still had some on. That might be a new menu item for Starbucks. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm trying to tell you, those were pretty good. I had a little faint flavor of cinnamon. It was almost like French toast egg bites with cheese and bacon. And I don't know whether I was just really starving or what the deal was, but it was pretty good. So again, take the lesson from me, ladies and gentlemen. Slow down. Take your time. Don't be so quick to get angry. And don't put cinnamon on your egg bites, all right? One of the things I want to talk to you guys about tonight, which is just like Starbucks, synonymous with Seattle, at least over the better part of the past decade, is a guy by the name of Russell Wilson. Now, we talked about Russell Wilson a couple of weeks ago on our show. And the discussion was some of the trade rumors that were coming up about Russ wanting to be in New York playing for the Giants. And there were a couple of reasons why he might go to New York, to pursue some of his off-the-field career options, to, help support his wife, Sierra, in her career as far as music, as far as acting. New York is a hub for all that. And there were some rumors that came out saying that he wanted out of Seattle and to be in New York. And we kind of brushed it off. We kind of said, that's some of the off-season rumors, some of the trade talks that happen every single year. But as it turns out, over this past week, Russell Wilson has really kind of put his foot down with the Seattle Seahawks and said that he desires a contract extension and he wants the discussion to be done by April 15th. So guess what day it is, ladies and gentlemen?
Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody?
That's right. It's April 15th. So you better have your taxes ready. And if you're the Seattle Seahawks, you better have a contract for Russell Wilson, or else you're going to have problems. Let me tell you what, though. I am here in Seattle on April 15th, and as of the time of this recording, 7 p.m., April 15th, 2019, the Seattle Seahawks and Russell Wilson have not come to any agreement on a contract extension. They're still down the road at the VMAC negotiating this thing, making it happen, and I'm not sure if it is going to take place right now. Couple of things to say about this situation now. A lot of people around the country, and especially right here in Seattle, believe that maybe Russ is being unreasonable about setting this deadline. April 15th is my drop dead date. I'm not going to negotiate after this point. And after that point, they're going to start moving into some of the off-season activities and training and voluntary workouts. And I think a lot of people are concerned that maybe Russ might not show up to some of that stuff. And that's a reasonable thing to be concerned about. And he probably will hold out. I'll take that back. I don't want to say he probably will, but he definitely has the right to hold out in a situation like that. Russ has done nothing over the past 7 to 8 seasons here in Seattle but break every franchise record that this team has had. He has become one of the elite quarterbacks in the National Football League. He has put himself up there in the ranks of Tom Brady, of Drew Brees, and Aaron Rodgers, the guys that are at the top level, the top earning level in the National Football League. Now, Russ is in his final year of a contract that really it's not a slouch of a contract. He signed for $87.6 million with $61 million in guarantees. So he still has a lot of money coming to him this year. But I think that if you look at the body of work that Russell Wilson has put down here in Seattle, he has definitely earned the right to say, hey, listen, I want to be the top paid quarterback in the National Football League right now. Now, whether that lasts a year, whether it lasts 2 years, whether it lasts 5 years, that remains to be seen. But I think he definitely has earned the right to be in that conversation. Do people believe that he's being unrealistic or unreasonable? Yes. Are people saying crazy things in Seattle like we should just trade him? Trade Russell to another team. Let him go to New York like he wants to. Send him somewhere else so we can get a new young quarterback in the draft. We can go out there and get somebody that's on the open market, and we can rebuild around that person. So let me ask you guys a question real quick. Who out there on the open market in free agency can step in and replace a Russell Wilson? Anybody that you can get for a much cheaper cost than you can get for a Russell Wilson. Is he out there? Does he exist? I'm going to tell you no. There's no free agent quarterback that's out there on the market right now that can step into this Seattle Seahawks franchise, into this organization, and replace a Russell Wilson. So you say, let's trade him away to another team and get a bunch of draft picks. Let's get 2 first-round draft picks and a bunch of later-round draft picks. You think that's going to be good enough compensation for Russell Wilson?
Oh, hell no. Hell no.
Hell no. Russell Wilson has not only become the face of this franchise, he's been the most successful quarterback in this franchise's history. He has led this team to 2 back-to-back Super Bowls. He has had them being a perennial playoff team over the past 7-8 seasons that he's been the quarterback of this franchise. He has overachieved at every single level and in every single way that you can as a professional football player, and he deserves the right to have this conversation with the Seahawks. Now, are the Seahawks going to pay him that money? I don't know. They can franchise tag him for up to 2 years, and they're going to have to pay a pretty penny in order to franchise tag him. But I think he's definitely worth the money. I don't think necessarily that Russell wants to be in another city. I think that, this opportunity to really maximize your contract, to maximize your worth, only comes around once, maybe twice in a professional football player's career, and I really don't blame him for doing this. And I think at the end of the day, these guys are going to come to a conclusion where Russell Wilson is just that valuable to this team. He's here. He's going to sign a long-term contract, and he's going to be the highest-paid quarterback in the National Football League. So, Seahawks, Russell, get it together, man. We want to have you ready for the season, man. We don't want anything hanging over your head. We don't want anything hanging over this organization as a dark cloud we're moving forward and looking forward to another Super Bowl run this season. So get it done, Russell Wilson. We don't want him to go on a farewell tour because sometimes they don't turn out so well. But right now in NBA, if any of you pay attention to professional basketball, there is a farewell tour that's taking place that has actually been pretty good. Now, I'm not a super fan of the farewell tours. I think if you know that this is your last season, you're not going to play anymore, just play out your contract or play out to the end of the season, ride off into the sunset without a whole lot of fanfare. In your final game, maybe they'll play a video for you and, the team congratulates you, pats you on the back, and tells you how great you were. That's good. But there are some players that really just transcend the sport and who really make such a positive impact, not just on the franchise, not just on the city that they live in, but on the entire world. And I think D.Wade is a guy that fits that category. Now, he's had an unbelievable NBA career. That goes without question. I think he will go down as probably one of the top 50 players in the league. And I know there are some people out there who probably will disagree, namely Paul Pierce, but that's a whole different story, a whole different conversation. But I believe he's had one of the better careers that we've seen in the 2000s for sure. But I think his contribution to the world, to the community, really pushes him over into the top echelon when it comes to professional athletes and especially professional basketball players. There was a commercial that just came out. It was a Budweiser commercial, which he is sponsored by Budweiser, and Budweiser and D.Wade. And on this farewell tour that D.Wade has been going on, every arena that he plays in around the country has been doing some kind of send-off to him during his last time playing on their court. And at the end of the game, he'll trade his jersey with one of the star players on the other team. So it's been a big thing, a whole lot of fanfare, a lot of paparazzi pictures, and it's just been a really big deal. But in this Budweiser commercial, they set him up, unbeknownst to him, to do more jersey trades with people that he wasn't aware of. Like, it was a total surprise to him. Some of the people that he traded jerseys with, which actually was not jerseys, were people whose lives he directly affected. And there was a young lady whose brother was killed in the Parkland high school shooting down in Florida, where D.Wade had actually, wrote her brother's name on his shoe during a game, and it really meant a lot to her and her family. There was another young lady who received a scholarship to go to college from D.Wade and his foundation, a young lady who wouldn't have otherwise been able to go to college. There was a young man who was inspired by D.Wade and his words and his motivation. He was just so inspired that he changed the course of his entire life and went to college and went on to get a job and become successful. So during this commercial, these people all came out and told D.Wade what he meant to them. And the young lady whose brother was killed in Parkland gave D.Wade her brother's jersey. The young man who got a job after changing his life around gave him the suit coat signed that he wore on his first interview to get the job. His mother, D.Wade's mother, who was she had some issues. She was an addict and had gone on to prison, spent years in prison. D.Wade bought her a church once she got out, got clean, got her life together, and is now out there preaching to the masses and changing lives every day. And so she gave D.Wade a robe from the church. And again, I say all that to say this farewell tour of D.Wade's has been very well received, and I think it's one of the better farewell tours that have been done in sports. And sometimes they don't go so well for some of these athletes. Like I said, some guys had done better if they would have just rode off into the sunset. I mean, we got guys like the infamous Roy Jones Jr., who really did not know when to hang it up, and he was one of my heroes growing up watching him box. And in his final 3 or 4 fights, he just went out there on his farewell tour and just got his head beat in every night, and it was... Oh, hell no, hell no! No, he shouldn't have done it. So D.Wade has had one of the better farewell tours. How about you? What do you think? When you think of farewell tours, athletes, sports figures who have gone and had a farewell tour, which ones do you think of went well, and which ones do you think of that didn't go well? I want to hear from you guys. Hit us on Twitter, Barbershop Show _, and let us know farewell tours, which ones went well, which ones didn't. We want to hear from you guys. Somebody who we thought was on a farewell tour just a couple of years ago, Tiger Woods, was in the news this past weekend because, not for anything bad, which has been, unfortunately, for the past 5-6 years, it's always been some kind of sad news about Tiger Woods. But this time, it was really good. It was really good. Tiger Woods won the Masters again this past weekend for the first time since 2005. It was his first major win in 11 years. And it was a big deal because if you grew up in my generation, Tiger Woods was the guy. Before Tiger Woods, a lot of us were not, let's completely be honest. We weren't that dialed into golf. It wasn't fun. It wasn't entertaining. There was not a whole lot of excitement. It was boring. It was quiet. It was just not for us. Tiger Woods steps on the scene, and not only being a new face, being of African-American descent or a person of color, it was just different to see, and it was unexpected to see. And then again, to be somebody so young, at the age of 21, winning his first Masters, I believe. His first major championship. He just changed the game for so long. And then he ran into some trouble he ran into a little bit of trouble.
Oh.
Yeah, somewhere along the line, we thought he was going to break every golf record there was. He was chasing Nicklaus, for the record of the most green jackets, and he came upon this strange back injury. And it wasn't just a back injury. He also had some issues in his personal life, some issues with infidelity with his wife, and it seemed like everything seemed to go downhill for Tiger. And it was years and years, people would tune in to watch Tiger, and it would just be a disaster. He would end up dropping out of tournaments. He would end up, just not even placing, just being a also-ran kind of guy. And for him to step up this past weekend, I think, was not only big for golf, and again, it's huge. Anytime Tiger golf, everybody tunes in to watch. But I think it was it was a big rallying point for people across the country. I was in Portland this past weekend at my daughter's basketball game, and it's sad to say, but it's the truth. We were there on Sunday, and all the dads in the gym were crowded around the cell phones, not watching the kids play, but watching Tiger golf.
Oh, hell no. Hell no.
And to make matters worse, at one point in time, every time they called a timeout during the game, the refs would come over to me and be like, "Hey, you watching Tiger? What's he doing? Is he behind? Is he catching up?" But that's the way it happened, man. And I'm telling you, it's good for Tiger. It's good for the sport. It's good for the country as a whole. I think for everybody to gather around and rally around something like that. I have heard a lot of people say that this was the ultimate comeback in sports. Now, while I'll agree that it was a great comeback for him to try to revive his career, do I believe that it was the greatest comeback in the history of sports? That's really a tough pill for me to swallow, man, because I think of all the great comebacks in the history of sports. I look at Michael Jordan. When he retired in this 1993-94 at 30 years old, I thought that, we had seen the end of the best basketball player of all time. He had won 3 championships at that time. He was going out on top, but then he came back. He came back like a year and a half, 2 years later, wearing a 45, and became, unquestionably the best basketball player of all time, winning another 3 championships, solidifying himself as the greatest basketball player of all time. That what I would consider to be one of the greatest comebacks of all time. But I still don't believe that is the greatest. I think if you want to talk about the greatest comeback in the history of sports, it would have to be Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali is hands down, in my opinion, the greatest comeback story in the history of professional sports. You look at his career. 1966, Muhammad Ali was the heavyweight champion of the world. And he was drafted into the U.S. Army. But he refused to be inducted. He held his ground, said no. He protested the war. He did not want to go. And so he was convicted. He was convicted of draft evasion, and he was denied a license to fight in every single state in the country. He was stripped of his passport. He couldn't even travel to other countries and fight. So he didn't have his title. He couldn't travel. He couldn't fight. He couldn't earn a living. So for 3 years, this went on with Ali. Finally, in 1971, his career kind of started to take off. His conviction was overturned. He was allowed to fight. He had to take on some little Rudy Poop fights in order to make a living and stay alive, stay afloat. And he wasn't allowed to fight for another heavyweight championship until 1974. So he went from 1966 to 1974, having his title stripped and having to earn it back all those years later. In my opinion, that is the ultimate comeback story in the history of sports. A guy who's standing out there fighting, toe-to-toe, mano-a-mano. That's a tough thing to do, man. I went and tried to fight a heavy bag a couple weeks ago, man. I did like 3 minutes on the heavy bag, and I needed an oxygen tank. I needed the CPR. I needed to get the electroshock on the chest. Man, it was all bad. It almost killed me. So you talking about a guy who comes back like 8 years later after you've been stripped from your title. You're 33 years old, and you're trying to fight for another title, another championship. To me, that is an ultimate comeback in sports. If Tiger wants to have an ultimate comeback for me, I think it would be to have his hairline come back, because his shit is gone. It's gone, Tiger. Do us all a favor, man. We love you. We're happy to see you back doing your thing. But when you win, please leave your hat on. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a hell of a day in the barbershop. I had to hold it down by myself. Next week, I promise I will have another voice in here for you to listen to besides my own. Hopefully that'll be Marcus Trufant. Hopefully we can get him in a boot, get him healed up, tell him to leave that basketball alone, leave that snowboarding alone. Get behind this microphone. It's much safer, man. It's better for old men like us to get on this mic. Hey, thank you guys for hanging out with me. In the meantime, if you want to follow the Barbershop, get on Twitter, Barbershop Show _, or on Instagram, Barbershop Show, or you can always go to the original Facebook page, the official Barbershop. That's where all the craziness started. You can go there, you can find myself, you can find True, you can find all the great conversations that people are having across this entire country. 16,000 people strong. Make sure we see you there. Until next week, it's T. Holla signing out from the Barbershop.